now we're going to be looking at the Light Assault class. And these are the guys who fly across the battlefield. The Light Assault does not have a passive ability. Remember, the Infiltrator had the passive ability of terminal hacking, but the Light Assault has no passive ability. And the implants and melee are going to be the exact same as Infiltrator, so we're not going to talk about them again. On the utility slot, you've basically your only real option here is the C4. You can do med kits, but as a Light Assault, your class, a big part of your class is using C4 to blow up vehicles and clumps of infantry. And you basically use your jump jets to get into a good position. And then you throw out your brick of C4. Boom. Bad guys go boom. And the first rank of C4 will cost you 200. The second one will cost you 500 for a total of 700 certs. And this is a pretty high priority. This is actually probably the highest priority for the Light Assault class because it's a big part of what you do is you become the C4, so-called C4 fairy. You blow up tanks, harassers, and maxes, pretty much anything. You can kill it with C4, and it's pretty. I mean, for the amount of damage you're going to be wreaking on the enemy, it's definitely one of the best buys that you can make as far as the Light Assault class is concerned. So this is a high priority. Now I also have C4 ARX here, and that is just the directive version of C4. So if I throw that out, that's just a flashier version of the regular C4. The stats of C4 compared to C4 ARCs, they are the exact same stats. You just get, so if you ever see C4 ARCs, it's the same. It's something you get for completing the explosives directive. And for your grenades here, I just kept it as the regular frag grenade. For your suit slot, you start out, for this class, you start out with a level 1 ammunition belt and a level 1 grenade bandolier. I think the ammunition belt is pretty worthless for this class because you are seldom going to live long enough to run out of ammo. And even if you do live long enough to run out of ammo, redeploy is just a single U key away. And for this class, I eventually went out and I got Nanoweave. I maxed it out. Nanoweave armor, which is protecting you against small arms. If the max rank gives you 20% resistance to small arms fire, it does not affect headshots. And it's actually Nanoweave is a pretty expensive cert line. It's going to be costing you about 1,210 certs, 1,211 certs to max out your nanoweave, so it's pretty expensive, but this is also a pretty high priority for the Light Assault class, and the reason is because this is a class which focuses on killing people, on killing stuff. When I was in the Air Force, they said the purpose of the Air Force in boot camp, they're of course pretty dramatic about it, but they said the purpose of the Air Force is to kill people and blow stuff up. That's what the Light Assault does. It kills people and blows stuff up. So you really want to have the nanoweave to protect you from the large amount of small arms fire that's going to be coming your way. Flak armor really isn't going to do you much good because most explosions that are happening in this game are happening at ground level. As Light Assault, you're going to be flying up on the trees and in the rooftops. You're going to be high, or you should be high. And one of the traps that you don't want to fall into is you don't want to be fighting just as a regular line infantry. You don't want to be fighting on the ground with the heavy assaults. Every time I'm playing a Light Assault and I find myself surrounded by a bunch of heavies, I'm immediately thinking to myself, why am I fighting as line infantry? Isn't there some place better that I could get to with my jump jets so that I can be playing as using my strengths as a Light Assault? So I did for my suit slot, I did choose the nanoweave armor. Now I also, as you notice, I also decided to, you get the first slot for free. You get, allows you to carry 2 grenades instead of 1. But I decided to max this out, the grenade bandolier out. And so you can carry 3 additional grenades. So I ended up paying 650 nanites, or 650 certs, I'm sorry. And this is not a high priority, the grenade bandolier. This is more, I'd say, a moderate priority. This is something to get after you've gotten everything else for your Light Assault that you want. And the reason why I got 2 different, because you can't have both the nanoweave and the grenade bandolier equipped at the same time. The reason I got these mutually exclusive cert lines and maxed them out is because if ever there's going to be a class where you want to toss a large amount of frag grenades around, it's going to be this class. And the reason is that as a Light Assault, you're going to be able to quickly get to locations that other classes can't get to, and from those vantage points, you are going to be able to toss frag grenades into large clumps of bad guys. So anytime you're in a big infantry fight, and you see a whole bunch of bad guys clumped together in a room or a hallway or something, I will normally switch to my Light Assault class, and I'll switch to my grenade bandolier, and I will start tossing out the frag grenades from my, usually it'll be my high vantage point. I'll toss them out and you can rack up some impressive kill streaks that way. Just need to make sure to switch back to nanoweave when it's back to business as usual. So I'd say 95% of the time I'm running my nanoweave, and then when the situation allows for it, when the opportunity allows for it, I'll pull out my grenade bandolier and get some really nice kill streaks going with frag grenades. So this is more of a moderate priority, not a high priority, not a low priority, moderate priority. For this class, when you start out, you will have level 1 drifter jump jets and level 1 jump jets. Jump jets are basically the the main default that you get with this class, the drifter, I'm sorry, just the regular jump jets, they will give you vertical thrust, so you go up, and they will also give you horizontal thrust, so you can move forward or backward or wherever direction you need to go. So they give both forward and vertical and horizontal thrust. Now the other jets are the drifter jump jets, and they provide only horizontal thrust. So you actually have to start out in a high position in order to use the drifter jump jets. But you can drift pretty far with them. If you max it out, the drifter jump jets have a pretty long duration. They have basically the longest duration of any of the jump jets. And the final jump jet, which I never invested in, is the Icarus jump jets, and these jump jets provide very high vertical thrust. So I really have to say that the drifter jump jets and the Icarus jump jets, they both play to a very specific play style. They're extremely situational. The regular jump jets are going to be useful all the time. Drifter jump jets are only going to be useful in some very specific circumstances, and same thing with Icarus jump jets. So you really should be focusing on the default jump jets, which, if you're going to be playing this class, this is a high priority. You want to focus on maxing out your jump jets, your default jump jets. And it's not terribly expensive. It's $800. The tool slots. They say that the Light Assault is going to be getting a tool and an update in the near future. But it hasn't come out yet, so we can't really review it. As far as guns for the Light Assault, you start out with a carbine. Carbine is the mercenary carbine, and it's a free carbine, costs you nothing, and it's actually it's said by many players to be the best all-around carbine in the game, the mercenary. It has good damage, good reload speed, and it has good accuracy too. Since this is one of the very first guns that I Araxiums, I foolishly never actually got any attachments for it. But if you want to be using the mercenary, you're probably going to want to put some type of scope on it, a ×1 or a ×2. You're also probably going to want to put a forward grip on it. I wouldn't put anything on the barrel. Mercenary is a very solid carbine. And now when I'm talking about Araxiuming a weapon, all that means is that when you get kills with a particular weapon, then you get a medal for it. So your first 10 kills with a particular gun will get you a bronze medal. Once you reach the 60 kill mark, you have a silver medal. At the 160 kill mark, you have a gold medal. And at the 1,160 kill mark, you get the coveted Araxium medal. And aside from just bragging rights that, hey, yeah, I got this medal, You also get free certs for getting these medal, with the Araxian medal giving you the best cert reward of 200 free certs. So basically, once I Araxium a gun, I will usually stop using that gun and I will switch to a different gun. So once I finished with the mercenary, and once I Araxiumed the mercenary, I moved on to the Razor GD23. And this is another carbine. Now carbines as a class of weapons, they are basically, they're characterized by, they're pretty good. They have they're either close quarters or they're medium range, and they have a good time to kill, and they're very closely related to the assault rifles, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But compared to the assault rifles have better accuracy when you're aiming down sights, and the carbines have better accuracy when you are firing from the hip. So carbines have better hip fire accuracy. And the carbines are available to both the light assault and the engineer classes. So the Razor GD23, this will run you 650 certs, and it's a low priority. It is a low priority. I actually got my Razor for free because back when I joined Planetside 2, they had this thing where they would ask you a question about your playstyle, and then depending on how you answer that question about your playstyle, they would give you a particular gun. And so I don't even remember what the question was or what my answer was, but I ended up with the GD23. I got it for free as a result of that. I don't think they do that anymore, but they replaced it with something else. But anyways, the GD23 is a carbine, which I Araxiumed for my light assault class. And once again, as this is one of the first guns that I Araxiumed, I really didn't know what I was doing, and I foolishly never actually got any attachments for it. But you're going to want to put a ×1 or a ×2 scope on it. You're going to want to put a compensator on it, probably. You're definitely going to put a forward grip on it, and you're probably going to want to put some high velocity ammo on it. And the best thing that I can say about the GD23 is that it has the best reload speed of any carbine in the game. But if you compare the stats, now look at that reload speed. That's crazy. Crazy good. But otherwise, it's really not a very impressive weapon. So I would give this the lowest priority of weapons for your light assault. The time to kill on this gun is just not very good. If the best thing that you can say about a gun is that it has a short reload speed, that's not very impressive. Now this is one of basically the only gun in the game where, you know how we talked about earlier that it's quicker to pull out your pistol than to reload your primary? I would say that actually doesn't apply with this gun because the reload speed is so quick. Look at how quick that is. Wow. But for every other gun, it's quicker to pull out your secondary pistol than to reload your primary. That's really the only thing that the Razor has going for it. And once I Araxiumed the Razor, I moved on to the MKV Suppressed. Now this is an SMG. And we talked about the SMGs earlier. How they're close range weapons, high rate of fire, good hip fire accuracy. Now I kind of did things the wrong way with the MKV Suppressed. And the MKV Suppressed, it's going to run you 1,000 certs. How I use the MKV Suppressed is well, obviously it's a suppressed gun. The suppressor is actually built into this gun, so you have no choice. You must run a suppressor with this gun. And here you can see I got the ×2 scope, which is not good at all for no, this should have been a ×1, but I got the ×2. My rail attachment was extended magazine. That's actually a pretty good, that's actually the best choice for this gun, because the bullets on this gun does not do a lot of damage. This gun does not do very much damage at all, actually, so you're really going to need every single bullet you can get in order to actually put down your target. And soft point ammo is definitely something that you want to use for a weapon which is close quarters like this one. The reason why I'm saying that I used the MKV Suppressed incorrectly is because I put the SMGs, the submachine guns, they can be used on any class except for the max. But since this is a suppressed gun, in fact it's required to be suppressed, it's got a built-in suppressor. Since it's a suppressed weapon, it's really supposed to be used with the light assault. You're going to get your best benefit, or, I'm sorry, it's really supposed to be used with an infiltrator. You're going to get your best value out of a gun like this by using basically suppressors plus infiltrators equals stealth character. Light assault really, you can play as stealthy to some extent. But it's not, the light assault is not really a class where, as far as small arms is concerned, where you're going to be very stealthy. Now you might be stealthy as like you're flying over somebody and dropping C4 on a tank. That's pretty stealthy, but you're not actually be firing your gun for that. As far as gunplay is concerned, you're not really a stealthy class, and yes, when using my MKV Suppressed, I actually was able to get some nice kill streaks going because I flew up to some place that people didn't expect me to be, and then I ambushed them with this suppressed weapon, and it took them a while to figure out where I was shooting from because I had a suppressor. So that was pretty nice, but you've actually got to have everything working in your favor to get that far. That's 1 out of every 10 times you're able to pull that off, and then the other 9 times you run into somebody and they kill you because you've got a suppressor on your gun and you can't compete in a straight-up firefight. There are big trade-offs, as we mentioned earlier, there are big trade-offs to the efficiency of your weapon for putting a suppressor on it, so you really don't want to do it basically unless you're playing as an infiltrator. So I cannot recommend using the MKV Suppressed like I did with a light assault, or certainly if you Araxium it with a light assault like I did, you're a masochist. You don't. Normally you would use this gun with the light assault class, so I'd have to say it's the lowest priority for any class except for the infiltrator class, in which case you could consider this to be a moderate priority. It's like a nice gun to have, but it's not something that you should feel that you must go out and buy. So once I Araxiumed my MKV Suppressed, I moved on to the Mauler shotgun. And And the Mauler shotgun is a shotgun which you get for free. And it is, the shotguns are basically, they're a class of weapon which is characterized by extremely close range. They're all very close range, and they all have very high damage output. So they're very much a niche weapon. And you need to have a play style or a class or both that can allow you to get close enough to use your shotgun to be effective. Because if you try and fight somebody at a longer range than point blank range, then you are going to be having big problems with any kind of shotgun. So the entire reason, and to be honest, this is another thing where I made a mistake about how I was using the light assault class. The only reason that I was using SMGs and shotguns with the light assault class is because of the light assault directives. As you can see, they count shotgun kills and SMG kills as part of credit for getting the directive or completing the light assault directive, which I've been trying to complete. So that's why I got a shotgun and an SMG for my light assault, and I wouldn't recommend making a mistake which I did, which is buying weapons for the light assault based on that directive. This is like this is me imparting my advice of what not to do and what to do, what works and what doesn't work. So here I've got my shotgun. I still haven't Araxiumed it. It's because shotguns plus the light assault class just do not mix well. As a light assault, they're going to be engaging people at medium range, sometimes at close range, but almost never at point blank range, which is the range that you should be shooting people with a shotgun. So here you got a ×1. I got a ×1 scope on the shotgun. That's exactly what you want for a point blank range weapon. There is no barrel attachment. For a rail attachment, you're going to need the extended magazine because you just don't have a whole lot of damage output. Surprisingly, you don't have a whole lot of damage output for your Mauler. The slug ammo I put on here, this is another kind of attachment which is actually it hurts you maybe even more than it helps you. I would say actually that this is a straight downgrade rather than an upgrade. It increases your range, the range at which you can, it pushes out your range, the range at which you can attack people, but it really hurts the ability of your shotgun to actually kill people. It randomizes the damage. Normally shotguns fire pellets, but if you switch it to slug ammo, you're firing slugs, which means that your damage output becomes very randomized. There's been times when I've gotten really ludicrous kills, or kills at a ludicrous range for a shotgun. Like I would shoot some guy really far away with my slug shotgun, and all the slugs would miraculously hit him in the head or something, and he would die. And I probably think the guy must have thought I was hacking or something, because it was just pure luck that that's how it turned out. So that would be great, but then at the same time there would be people who'd be much closer to me directly in front of me, and I shoot him 5 or 6 times, and I hit nothing but air, or I just basically whiff him, and then he just totally blows me away. I tend to actually lose 1 versus 1 firefights with this shotgun, even when I'm fighting at a range that's supposed to be supposedly optimum with my slugs. So I'd say that stay away from slugs for the Mauler, and actually just don't use the Mauler at all for the light assault class. But it is free. It's a free weapon. You get it for free. Shotguns can be used for any class except for the Max, which has shotguns too, but but different kind of shotguns. They're max-specific shotguns, and the NC's pretty much the shotgun class. We've got shotguns for everything. But the Mauler is the shotgun you get for free. And the Mauler is actually not that bad. It's just if you want to be using a shotgun or the Mauler specifically, you probably want to use it on your heavy assault or maybe the medic, but yeah, definitely the heavy assault would be where I would actually have used the Mauler shotgun, and I would not use slugs on it. So I'd say that's a medium priority as far as like getting attachments for your shotgun. It's actually the attachments are pretty cheap. 30 certs for the sight and another 100 for the extended magazine. It's a pretty cheap weapon, and it is effective when it is used in its point blank range, which is actually more like this. This is the range you want to be shooting people at with your Mauler. And I still have yet to Araxium this because it's so hard to get kills, man, with a light assault. I'm a glutton for punishment, is all I can say. Alright, and that wraps up the light assault class. We are now going to be moving on to the combat medic class. And the combat medic does have a passive cert line. And that cert line is triage. And it costs you 100 certs to get the first level of triage. And basically, when you are in a vehicle, if you've got triage, you will passively heal allies within a certain radius. And if you cert it out, you're going to increase the rate of healing for triage. Now, I got the first rank of this, 100 certs. I'd say this is a minimum priority of investment. Because you aren't going to be in a situation, I mean, a whole lot where you're actually going to be healing people while you're in a vehicle. Basically, you're going to be the main situation where this would happen is that you're in a Sunder, and you've got a bunch of allied troops in the Sunder, and maybe a couple of them need a little bit of healing, so you'll heal them up with triage. But to do that, I mean, just for a Sunder or driving with troops from one base to the next, you don't need the max ranks of this to get them healed up, because even though you have a low rate of healing is pretty low, by the time you've driven from one base to another base in your Sunder, everybody's going to be healed up just from your initial one rank of triage. So I really wouldn't even put any more than one rank into this. And now we have used as a squad, we have used a specific strategy where we use triage to heal maxes in a Sunderer. That's part of a very specific strategy, but even then I wouldn't say that you need to cert up more than one rank to make that strategy viable. The rate of healing is pretty good, and if there's other people with triage in your Sunderer, which there probably will be, it's a cumulative effect. 100 certs isn't too expensive, but this is not a high priority. This is not something you're going to be using very often as a medic. And once again, the implants and the melee weapons, the knives, they're all the same as the previous classes, so we're not going to go over them. As a medic, I certed into C4. You actually have to cert it into it separately, so I had to pay to use C4 with my light assault, and then I had to pay additional certs, an additional 700 certs to cert into C4 for my combat medic. And So you're probably asking, well, why use C4 as a medic? I mean, I can understand why you would use C4 as a light assault because you're going to fly over people and drop C4 on them. Why would you use C4 as a medic? And the reason why you would use C4 as a medic is because as a medic, you want to be able to take on maxes because you're going to be running into maxes as part of your job as a medic. And occasionally you're going to even want to fight against vehicles. The opportunity to kill vehicles is not going to be as great when you're playing as a medic, but it's definitely going to be, there are going to be targets of opportunity which pop up. And there's definitely, as a medic, you're going to see this a lot as a medic. You're going to be in point hold situations where you're defending a point against a determined attempt to take it, and really that's where the medic shines in point hold scenarios. So you're going to be, if you're playing your medic right, you're going to be a lot of point hold scenarios, and in those point hold scenarios, the ability to throw down some C4 in a doorway or something, that can mean the difference between your team holding the point or losing the point, because C4 is just that powerful. If somebody's rushing your point or max crashing your point, the ability to just throw C4 explosives down in front of them and take a whole bunch of them out, that's huge. So that's why I double invested in certs for the C4 for the medic. And really the other option, if you weren't going to get C4 for your medic, the other option would be to get restoration kits or med kits, both of which heal you. The problem with that, though, is that for the medic, you start out with self-healing. See, I'm healing myself right now with my special ability, with F. And since you start out with self-healing, to actually invest in med kits or restoration kits isn't really something that is really worth a cert investment, unless you're using a regeneration field, which I've never actually invested in. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So really, it's I would not say that this is a high priority for investment for your medic. I'd say it's a moderate priority. You probably want to invest in this for your medic after you've invested in like everything else you want for your medic. But it is useful to have. So this is medium priority. For my medic, I just stuck with my regular frag grenade. For your medic, you start out with level 1 shield capacitor and level 1 nanoweave. While both of these options are useful, I'd have to say that the nanoweave is more useful. Nanoweave will, the shield capacitor will help your shield recharge faster. The nanoweave will reduce small arms damage, and you're going to be taking a lot of small arms damage as a medic. So the ability to take that small arms damage and keep on doing your job, I think, is more important than having your shield recharge. So this would be a high priority for the medic. Nanoweave armor. And it is rather expensive, unfortunately. 1,200. But it is worth it if you're going to be playing the medic class. It will keep you alive, because as a medic, people are going to be trying to kill you left and right. You are like the highest priority because you can quickly get up all of your teammates who are down. And you are quite often going to be running out into fire and reviving somebody and then running back into cover, and you're going to be taking fire that whole time, and the ability to suck up extra bullets with nanoweave, that's a pretty big deal. For your ability slot, you have the option of the nano regen device is the device, the self-healing device. You light up like a green Christmas tree when you use it, but it is a fast way to replenish your health, and also it will heal nearby allies, which is also nice. If you're too busy, you know, shooting. You can be healing while you're shooting. This guy thinks I'm BR1. I'm BR105. That's pretty funny. Okay. I guess you can't tell by my Araxium gun and my Araxium armor that I'm not a BR1. Okay, so I did actually fully sort out the nano regen device. The alternative is the regeneration field. This puts down a field which quickly regenerates the shield of any ally, including yourself, who is in that a particular radius. And the regeneration field is actually pretty useful. If you do get the regeneration field, you're probably going to want to get med kits or restoration kits, as you will lose your self-heal ability. I just never really invested in it because these two are mutually exclusive, and I like this self-heal ability because for my combat medic, I focus on the combat part. I focus on the combat part of combat medic. My medic is very combat oriented. I want to be able to heal myself on a moment's notice. So for sorting out your ability slot, I would say this is a moderate priority. It's not high priority. It's a nice thing to have, but it's definitely not required to get the most out of this class. And it's actually pretty expensive, or pretty inexpensive, to sort out the nano regen device. It costs you almost a little bit less than 300 certs, so that's not bad at all. The regeneration field is considerably more expensive. The medical applicator. This is your tool. This is what the combat medic makes you the highest priority target. This is why you're the highest priority target. It's because you can heal your allies, you can revive your allies, and you can just be a total nightmare for the enemy team because they just aren't going to be able to capture a point. They aren't going to be able to kill your people fast enough if you're constantly reviving them. And ultimately, Planetside 2 is a game about taking and capturing points. Taking them, holding them, capturing them. And that is the situation, the point hold situation, where the medic class shines. And it shines because of this medical applicator tool. So I think this should be really the first thing that you invest in for your medic is you want to get your medical applicator maxed out ASAP. So this is the highest priority, and it is rather expensive. It's about 700 to max out your medical applicator, but it is worth it. A fully maxed out medical applicator will revive people at 100% health. And that is something which is very useful. And and you'll revive people faster too, which is a big deal when there's people shooting at you, and you want to get the people that you're trying to revive back up as soon as possible so that they can get back in the fight. Now the combat medic class, they have a particular type of gun which is devoted just to the combat medic. Assault rifles. So assault rifles are the medic which is particular to the combat medic class. The combat medics are the only class which can use assault rifles. And assault rifles are very similar to carbines. They are the brother or sister class, I guess you could say, of weapons compared to carbines. As we mentioned earlier, carbines have better hip-fire accuracy. Assault rifles have better aim-down sights accuracy. Honestly, bullet for bullet, assault rifles are probably some of the most dangerous weapons in the game. So just because you're playing as a medic, don't think that you can't fight on the front lines. You probably aren't going to be able to beat a heavy, but you should be able to beat any other class besides a max or a heavy as a medic. So you're sort of like a second tier frontline infantry. If you're packing nanoweave armor, if you've got self-healing, if you've got an assault rifle, you can definitely become a menace on the front lines. Not as much as a heavy assault, but close. So for the assault rifles, you start out with the Gauss assault rifle. And since this I think was the first weapon that I ever Araxiumed, I put a ×2 sight on it. Wow. And I never even got anything else for it. I guess, okay, a ×1 or a ×2 sight would work for this gun. The barrel I wouldn't do anything with. The rail, you're going to want to put down a forward grip. And the Gauss assault rifle is actually a pretty good gun. I can't believe I never put a forward grip on it. Wow. I really didn't know what I was doing when I first started playing. So the Gauss assault rifle, it does good damage. Accuracy is acceptable, reload speed acceptable, but the bullets hit hard, and it's a fairly easy to use gun. It's mostly an all-around gun. It doesn't really shine in any particular area. But there are some veteran people who say that the NC1 is one of the best all-around assault rifles in the game. After I Araxiumed the Gauss rifle, I moved over to the Carnage rifle, assault rifle. Oh, this is horrible. I never put... Okay. So this is another one of the first weapons which I Araxiumed. I never actually did all my attachments for this gun. But I did at least put a ×2 sight on it. So you want a ×1 or a ×2 sight on it. Barrel, you could definitely put a compensator on this, or just leave it off. It's really up to you. The compensator will increase your accuracy, but from aiming down sights, but decrease it when you're firing from the hip. So it's really up to you if you think that's worthwhile, 100 sword cost or not. I'd say probably it is, but it's up to you. Also, you have to be careful because it makes you show up from farther away on the mini-map. So there are some costs associated with the compensator. And for the rail, I strongly recommend advanced forward grip. I can't believe I never got it. But as I said, this is one of the first weapons I Araxiumed, and I just never got around to getting it. I guess I didn't have any certs at that time. Now, the nice thing about the Carnage, you can see that compared to the Gauss rifle, it has some definite advantages and disadvantages. The damage that the Gauss does is better. But you have a better fire rate with the Carnage. And one thing which isn't mentioned here, and this is pretty important, this is actually the main selling point of the Carnage compared to any other gun. When you've got the Carnage, you've got the what we talked about earlier, the .75 aim down sights modifier. So you're actually moving around the battlefield faster, getting around the battlefield and strafing around the battlefield faster than you would be with any other gun for the Combat Medic class. This is the only gun for the Combat Medic class which has the .75 aim down sights modifier, so it's a pretty big deal, and it's one of the reasons why I'd say that the Carnage is one of the best assault rifles. It's probably my favorite assault rifle, or second favorite. It's a tie between this and another one which we'll talk about in a minute. But it's a very strong assault rifle. As with all guns, I'm not going to say this is a high priority. It's not. It's more of a moderate priority. If once you've Araxiumed your default Gauss rifle, this is a very strong choice to assert into, and the Carnage will run you 650 certs, so it's not too bad. Once I Araxiumed my Carnage, I then went over to the Reaper DMR. So the Reaper DMR, DMR stands for Designated Marksman Rifle. The very first thing you notice about this rifle, this is an assault rifle which specializes in medium range. So the previous two rifles, they could be sort of, they could be used at short range or medium range, depending on the circumstances. This is an assault rifle which specializes in medium range. So if you're using it at short range, you're probably doing something wrong. You're probably going to die too if you're using it at short range. Another thing you're going to notice with this rifle immediately is that you only have 24 rounds in your magazine. Only 24. There's probably TR players who would look at that and be like, you've got to be kidding me. Only 24? I'd have 500 bullets in my magazine. Well, you've only got 24 in this one, so you've got to make every bullet count. You are punished pretty heavily for missing with this gun. But at the same time, your bullets hit very, very hard. This is a very hard-hitting gun. When you hit people with this gun, and you will hit them most of the time because it's a very accurate gun, you are going to get some really crazy time to kills. You're going to be able to put down people really, really fast. So this is a very, if you're interested in using your Combat Medic at the medium range, this is the gun which specializes at medium range for the Combat Medic, and it's a pretty solid pick. It will run you 1,000 certs. I put a ×2 sight on it. This is pretty typical for a medium range gun. You could definitely, you actually probably do want to put a compensator on this gun. I guess I didn't because this is another early gun. But I would definitely put a compensator on this. and you definitely want to get the advanced forward grip for it. 200 certs for the forward advanced forward grip, 100 for the compensator. Moving on from the Reaper, the next one that I Araxiumed was the GR22. So if the Reaper was the assault rifle which specialized, oh yeah, then the Reaper I'd say is once again is a medium priority. It's not something that you really need to have, but if you've already Araxiumed your default gun and are looking for a medium range gun to replace it, you can't go wrong with the Reaper. And the GR22, I'm going to say the same thing. It's also a medium priority. The GR22 has a crazy 800 round per minute rate of fire. That's the best. That's the best out of all the assault rifles. So if you look at this, wow, you just blaze through your entire clip in just a second. This is, if the Reaper is a medium range specialty gun, the GR22 is a close range specialty gun. This is the specialty gun which you use for taking out people at close range. Since I tend to fight a lot at close range as a medic, it's really a toss-up between the Carnage and this as my favorite assault rifles. The Carnage, I like the .75 aim down sights. I really enjoyed it when I used it. For the GR22, I like the ability to just blow people away at close range. It's unreal how fast you can get kills with this gun at close range. You aren't going to get very many kills with it at medium range, but it's possible. And for this gun, I don't know why I put a ¡2 sight on it. It seems like a ×1 would be better, as it's a close range gun. For the rail, you could get away with an advanced laser sight here, or you could stick with the forward grip. It's really preference, player preference. The laser sight's going to make hipfire accuracy better. Forward grip is going to mean your aiming down sights is going to be better, and really you should be aiming down sights as much as you can in firefights. And soft point ammunition you definitely want to get for this gun. So once again, this is a medium priority, but if you're looking for a close range specialty gun for your medic, you can't go wrong with the GR22. And the GR22 will run you 650 certs. After I Araxiumed the GR22, the next one I moved over to was the NC9 Atros. Now the Atros it's most easily comparable to the Reaper. So if we're going to compare the stats of the Reaper and the Atros, we see that the stats are very, very similar. And the main difference here is that the reload speed on the Atros is worse, but the magazine size is better. So these are two guns which are trying to fulfill the same role. Both the Reaper and the Atros are trying to fulfill the role of being a medium range assault rifle. And I have to say that the Atros is a harder gun to use. Now, it's not a worse gun, but it's definitely harder to use. And the reason why is because you've really, in order to get the most out of the Atros, I didn't really figure this out until I'd gotten a couple hundred kills with the Atros, is that you've really got to learn how to burst fire. This is the gun which taught me how to burst fire in medium range engagements. And what I mean by this is that with the Reaper, it's an automatic weapon, so if you just hold down the trigger, all your bullets are going to go on the target. With the Atros, you can do the same thing. The problem is the Atros bullets do not hit as hard. You have more bullets in your magazine, but the bullets themselves do not hit very hard. which means that even if you are getting penalized less for missing with this gun, because your bullets do less damage, you have a bigger magazine size, but you need to make sure that your bullets count. So you can't do what you do with the Reaper. With the Reaper, you just see the target and you pull the trigger, and that's it. With the Atros, you have to put a couple shots on the target, then wait for your recoil to reset, then put a couple more shots on the target, and in that way you maintain your accuracy. And you're probably thinking, you must be crazy in a game like this with a time to kill as short as this. Do you really want to be holding your fire like that? And the answer is, with the Atros, yes. This is something for burst fire is something you should only do for medium range engagements like this, but it's something that you do so that if you try and do automatic fire with the Atros, it's just not going to end well. And I'll show you what. Here I'm going to do automatic fire, and we'll see my bullets are going to go the first couple bullets are going to go on target. In fact, the initial stat here for the Atros is that it has a if you look at the aim accuracy stat, it has a 0. That's really good. That's the best possible aim accuracy that you can get for this gun. And what that means is that when you initially are shooting this gun, your shots will initially go immediately on target. 100% accuracy. So no other gun has that for the assault rifles. But then if you're automatic firing this gun, my bullets have gone all over the place, as you can see. Not very many of them ended up on the target. So the better thing to do, rather than do that, would be to burst fire like so. And my bullets there, well, you can't really see them all, but the bullets did all go on target when I was burst firing. So you really need to. This is the gun which taught me how to burst fire, and burst firing is actually pretty useful. It's not just useful for this gun. You can use burst firing in other guns. You should only really be using burst fire at medium range, because at close range, automatic fire is definitely the way to go. But burst fire is very useful. And the NC9 Atros is a useful gun, especially when you're burst firing. I kind of think I like the Reaper. I think the Reaper is easier to use, but they're both very solid choices if you want to shoot people at medium range with a combat medic. So the NC9 Atros will run you 1,000 certs, and once again, I'd say this is a medium priority weapon. Now, if you can Araxium 5 assault rifles, which I did, they give you a nice looking banner, and they'll give you a gun, the Gauss Prime, which is a directive weapon. So if you can complete enough, just like I got the other Araxium weapons, this is sort of an Araxium weapon too. Unlike all of those other Araxium weapons, though, this Araxium weapon is actually different. It has different combat stats. Oh, I'm getting shot in the head here. I should shoot back. So anyways, with all the other, Araxium stuff that we talked about, the Araxium knives, the C4 arcs, the combat stats were exactly the same. With the Gauss Prime, the stats are different. Now with these Araxium guns, there are no attachment options, except for the sights, which I still haven't gotten. I still haven't spent certs on it, because I actually kind of like the iron sights of this gun enough, where I'm not going to actually even get an optic for it, I don't think. But here's my Gauss Prime, and Basically, how this gun works is it's a lot like the regular Gauss rifle. As you can see, I've still got the iron sights, but it does have high velocity ammunition built into this gun, um, which the regular Gauss rifle doesn't have. That doesn't mean it's a better gun. Actually, it was widely accepted that the Gauss Prime was the worst assault rifle in the game. That was what was said by all the veteran players for the longest time. But then something wonderful happened, and fortunately for me, it happened about the same time I actually unlocked this rifle, which was that high velocity ammo got buffed. It was a major buff. High velocity ammo was actually probably may have even actually been a downgrade for the longest time. But when high velocity ammo got buffed, the Gauss Prime all of a sudden didn't suck anymore. It actually became a useful gun. I wouldn't say it's like super useful. I mean, I still prefer the Carnage or the GR22, but it's a gun which actually will get me kills, and it's a gun which I've enjoyed using, and it's free, so even better. And that is it for the medic class.